I don't think it matters how well this team plays, Mike. I mean, they're 10 points outside of the playoff picture, and what makes matters worse is that it's so crowded up there at the top. As of last night, I believe, there were 4 points separating first place in the division from outside of a playoff spot. The gap after that is really large. This team's going for 5 in a row tonight for the first time all season. Even if they get it, even if they win 10 in a row, they might not make that big of a dent.
Wow.
It's up to the other teams here to kind of fall. I mean, it's a little bit far out to say that this team isn't in control of their own destiny, but to be real, they're really not. I mean, they need other teams to fall here.
Well, and that's a great point. You just mentioned it. So for people who are kind of hanging on here, hoping, hey, they're playing better, you just mentioned it. They could win 10 out of 12 here or even 10 in a row and still probably be in a pretty tough spot here. And, that's pretty discouraging to hear because, quite frankly, how much of a disappointment is it that this team is in the situation that it's in?
Well, I mean, at the beginning of the season, I think people thought that they were a fringe playoff team. So if they get to just outside the playoff picture, I don't know quite how underachieving their season would be as a whole, but that first half was certainly not what I don't think anybody expected. I mean, Ron Hextall said that on paper he thought he had a playoff team, but I don't know quite what it would end up looking like if they were just on the outside in terms of what was expected of them.
Obviously, the Flyers have had this little layoff here, 5 days off. Are they going to be healthier when they get back here? Who are some of the guys that this little layoff helped out the most?
Well, Scott Lawton certainly recovered from his concussion. That took him quite a while to get back from. He will be in the lineup tonight. Nicholas Grossman, he will be in the lineup tonight. And he's a big defenseman that, the Flyers like to have because he's a punishing body. You guys will even say in practice just how tough he is to play against because when you have a guy his size that puts his stick on top of yours, you're not getting that shot off. The only thing is he's not exactly a guy known for his speed, and the New York Islanders are, Jake Voracek said this morning, the fastest team in the NHL. I don't know quite how you quantify that, but the Flyers know that this is a really quick team that they're dealing with tonight. So they do get 2 guys healthy. And certainly they're hoping that helps them. But the bigger thing has got to be making sure that everybody else's legs are going early on in this one, too.
March 2nd, trade deadline, typically Flyers, big name in that. Do you think that will change this time around?
Well, I don't think they'll be buyers, certainly. I think that Ron Hextall knows that this season to go all in and try, especially considering they're still, double-digit points out right now with less than a month to go to that trade deadline. It'll be interesting to see what the price structure is around the league to see if he has any pieces worth selling off. I know he'd like to get a couple more draft picks in this upcoming draft. It's supposed to be a deep draft. The first 2 rounds are pretty stacked. I don't know if they have a guy that they would be willing to part with that would get them a first-round pick. Or even a second-round pick for that matter. It'd be a little bit easier to find a second-round pick guy, but I think he'll be looking to sell more than he'll be looking to buy. But this is his first season as a general manager, so we really don't have much to go off of here.
Dave Isaac with us at Dave G. Isaac for the Flyers and Islanders tonight. In other sports, mainly basketball and football, we hear the word tanking a lot. Is that something that has been discussed a lot around the Flyers with this particular season? Is this a draft where they could get themselves better if, in fact, they didn't make the playoffs?
With the NHL, there's generally 1 or 2 players every year in the draft that can make an immediate impact the following year. It's not like the NFL where you've got 6-round picks that are, making a decent impact on the team the following season. But in any sport, it's about tanking is a management thing. It's not a player thing. You're not going to get players to underperform on purpose. And the Flyers haven't made any moves this year that would, get them devoid of talent. So excuse me, I don't think that's really something on the Flyers' radar. Ron Hextall said that's not the way to do it. He said, even if our team finished dead last, do we deserve the number one pick? He said, ineptitude does not deserve to be rewarded. So I don't think that's something that the Flyers are really looking for right now.
Let's look at this wild card real fast. As you mentioned, they got a lot of mess up there. They're at 51 points to get into the playoffs right now. Boston's at 61. Washington's at 62. And then, of course, your division, the Metro, you got the Rangers at 64. The Islanders, who you play tonight, at 65. Of the teams that you think could fall, which team should fans kind of keep an eye on the scoreboard? Who do you think is set up to maybe slip out of one of those playoff spots? Islanders, Rangers, Capitals, or I guess Boston right now?
The Islanders are a team that they haven't really slipped up until pretty much right now. They've lost 3 in a row coming into tonight. Is that something that can continue? I don't know. Kyle Okposo, one of their best players, is out on injured reserve now. I believe it's a detached retina for him. So, that's something that he's not going to be able to recover from overnight.
No, that feels like it hurts.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see just how big of an impact he has on that team. Henrik Lundqvist took a puck to the throat the other night. He's out for right now, but if that's not a long-term injury, then maybe the Rangers don't, fall down the standings there. These are quality teams. I mean, Boston is a team that was not that unlike the Flyers about a month ago, and now seem to be back on track. But this is a team that's been perennially an Eastern Conference title contender for the last 5 years. I don't see the makeup of any of these teams falling significantly enough that the Flyers can get themselves back in the picture.
Dave, read your piece about Wayne Simmonds over at 97.3, and Scott Lawton, it looks like he'll be back tonight, and you mentioned how Simmonds has played with just about every single player possible on this Flyers team. Do we think there's going to be some more changes now with Lawton coming back?
No, it'll be a new line for him, but he's already played with Lawton.
Okay.
He played with Ryan White when Lawton was out the past couple games, and Peter Straka was here too. Yeah, he played with 14 of a possible 16 forwards besides himself that have dressed this year. So,
wow.
If there's somebody new, you can bet that Wayne Simmonds is playing with him. But the line tonight will be Wayne Simmonds on the right, Ryan White on the left, and Scott Lawton in the middle.
Okay, guys, at Dave G. Isaac on Twitter, Flyers and Islanders tonight. And, of course, they've won 4 in a row, trying to make it a season-high 5 and trying to keep themselves somewhat alive. Trade deadline March the 2nd. We'll tap into Dave for that. Dave, always a pleasure. Enjoy the game, pal.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me.